Welcome to Journey Through the Gospels. Here we explore the stories of the Gospel through history, faith, and cinematic storytelling. A boat can feel very small when the sky turns dark and the water begins to rise. On the Sea of Galilee, the disciples faced a night when their strength was no longer enough. What happened in that boat became one of the clearest signs that the man beside them was greater than they yet understood. Jesus had spent the day surrounded by crowds. He had been teaching them, speaking in parables, and drawing people from many places. By evening, he told his disciples that it was time to cross to the other side of the lake. It sounded like a simple journey, but it led them into a moment they would never forget. They left the crowd and took him with them in the boat. The light was fading, and the air over the water was changing with the coming night. Some of the men with him were fishermen who knew this lake well. At first, the crossing may have felt familiar. Jesus lay down in the stern on a cushion and slept. That quiet detail matters. After a long day of teaching and movement, he rested like a real man in a real boat under an evening sky. Around him were tired disciples, dark water, and growing silence. Then the storm came. The Gospels describe a great windstorm. Waves began striking the boat with force, and water rushed in. The men who had worked these waters before were suddenly facing something beyond their control. They pulled at ropes and fought to steady the vessel. They leaned against the motion of the boat as wind and spray hit them from every side. The sea that had seemed ordinary only moments before now looked dangerous and wild. In that small wooden boat, fear spread quickly, and Jesus was still sleeping. While the disciples were wide awake with panic, he remained at peace. That contrast sits at the center of the story. They were overwhelmed by what they could see and hear, but he was undisturbed in the middle of it. At last, they woke him. The Gospels preserve their cry with different wording, but the fear is the same. They believed they were perishing. In that moment, they were not speaking calmly. They were desperate men calling for help in the dark. Jesus rose and faced the storm. He did not shout in panic. He did not struggle against the wind as though it were stronger than he was. He rebuked the wind and he spoke to the sea with simple authority. And then everything changed. The storm stopped. The waves settled. The wind that had filled the air with noise fell silent. What had been chaos only moments before became a great calm. The change must have felt almost unreal. A boat that had been full of fear was now surrounded by stillness. The disciples, who had been fighting for control, suddenly had nothing left to do except look. The silence after terror can feel even more powerful than the terror itself. Then Jesus spoke to them. Why were they afraid? Why had their faith become so small? His words did not deny the danger they had just faced. The storm was real and their fear was real, but his presence with them was greater still. Now another kind of fear entered the boat. It was no longer only the fear of drowning. It was the trembling wonder that comes when human beings realize they are standing before a power they cannot explain. The disciples looked at one another and asked who this could be, because even the wind and the sea obeyed him. That question is the heart of the story. Jesus does not only rescue them from danger, he reveals himself in the middle of it. The one who had been sleeping in the stern was not merely a wise teacher or a holy man. He had authority over creation itself. In the Old Testament, the raging sea often stands as a sign of danger, disorder, and human weakness. Yet the God of Israel is shown as Lord over the waters. In this moment on the lake, Jesus acts with that same authority. He does not ask permission from the storm, he commands it. The disciples began the crossing knowing Jesus, but not yet knowing him fully. The storm exposed what was in their hearts. It showed their fear, their weakness, and their need. But it also opened their eyes to something greater than the danger around them. This is one reason the story remains so close to the hearts of many believers. People know what it means to feel trapped in forces bigger than themselves. They know what it is to feel the wind too strong and the waves rising too fast. The gospel does not pretend those moments are imaginary. It shows them honestly. But it also shows Christ present in the boat, not far away, not absent, not unaware, present. The story does not say that the disciples escaped the storm because of their own strength. It shows that peace came because the Lord was with them. Sometimes the deepest question is not how large the storm is. The deepest question is, who is with us in the storm? The disciples entered that night fearing the sea, but they emerged from it with a greater awe. They had seen that even the wind and the water listened to Jesus, and that is why this scene still speaks with such force. In one small boat, in one dark moment, fear met authority, chaos met command, human weakness met the calm presence of Christ, and the result was not only rescue but revelation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more gospel stories.